Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Clangin and Bang with Mikey, episode 107. And today we go just oh man, it's crazy. We're gonna talk about not trying to revolve old relationships or just not overthinking shit, right? I was watching this interview with 50 Cent, and 50 Cent said he's like I've never been one to rekindle failed relationships because he's like if it took if it broke down and for whatever reason and you didn't want to fix it, whatever it is. And when he said he means the other person. And he's like, if the other person didn't want to fix it, why would I want to rekindle something that I didn't break? And it makes sense, it made sense. A lot of the times, people will keep other people around, simply because they've been friends with them for 20 years or whatever it is, right? Or just or you end up creating close bonds with somebody, and like you don't want it to you don't want it to end, but it ends anyway. Yeah, man. I think it's important to realize that everything comes to an end. Job, relationship, family ties, for the most part, friendships, all this shit comes to an end. Very rarely do you find people that you've been friends with for decades. And I think it's true. I think it's very true because a lot of people will sit there and be like, oh well, um, I remember when you was this or you was that, yada yada yada, whoop de whoop, and it's like, yeah, but what you know is a version of me that's 10, 12, 13 years old. I'm a grown man or I'm a grown woman, or whatever the situation is, and so I think it's important to realize that just because you know somebody doesn't mean that you know the newest version of them. And a lot of the times people will just go back to, to the old version that, that they knew you of. And it's like what they fail to realize or what they don't realize is you're no longer that version. A lot of guys I went to high school with, who were ambitious and who were this, who were that. And it's like a lot of them are working the same jobs as high school. And it's like they talked about doing this and doing that, and next you look up and you're like 15, 20 years, almost 20 years have gone by, and they're still doing the same thing. Or the guys who thought that were going to be successful, they end up getting in trouble with the law. They end up just, you know, all the shit that they had going for them. It's, you know, life turned out different for them. And I'm not saying that they bad people, whatever it is, because some people just get caught up, and that's another conversation for another time. But yeah, man, I think it's important to realize that everybody has a chapter in your life. Some span multiple chapters, and others a few pages. And what I mean by the chapters, is like I consider every year as a chapter, and when you get older and older and older, you realize that every day is a page, and I look back in certain things with certain individuals, and I'm not talking about anybody in particular, but I just look back on certain things and I'm like, damn, it's like we really was out there doing really, some real dumb shit, or we was really out there, you know, too busy being stubborn and too busy, bitch, just caught up in our feelings, our emotions to communicate effectively, and you end up essentially becoming strangers because what your growth requires a different set of boundaries, a different set of leveling up to do, and a lot of the times people can't do that, man. They can't what do you call that? They can't level up with you because they're too afraid to be, to leave the spot that they in. And with that being said, man, as much as it pains you to have a difficult conversation with somebody, you gotta have, you know. And I don't mean just, with your friends. I mean with your family. I mean, with whoever, the situation calls for, right? I think it's important to understand that if you don't have that conversation or conversations with individuals, you know, they're always gonna look at you like the version that they see you in. Like I said, I'm in my 30s, and I I've known people who've known my family since I was a baby, and they always have this version of this 10-year old boy in me, that they constantly see, and they don't realize that I'm a grown man. They don't realize that I have, things going on, that I'm moving and I'm shaking. You know what I mean? And all they think about is like, oh, well, I remember when you was 10 years old. I'm like, yeah, you know. But that's life, man. People grow, they change and mature, hopefully for the better. And I'm not saying that other people can't mature or they can't grow, but everybody grows at their own pace. And it's imperative that you, excuse me, it's imperative that you grow at your own pace, that you don't grow at a pace that's too fast for you or too slow for others, man. And if you find yourself in a room full of people that are always talking about what they did versus what they want to do, leave the room. Perfect example is there's certain individuals that I don't hang out with because they always talk about what they did in high school and college, in terms of sports, and I'm like, bro, what is that? You talking about something that was, over 20 years ago. You talking about something that's been done. Nobody knows who you are. You know what I mean? Or you talking about something that was, a period of time that's he's still stuck on that, and everybody else has moved on. And so, I think it's important to not only realize when you have to leave the room, but when you have to leave certain people behind, because believe it or not, certain people will hinder your growth, and they will hinder your ability to move forward and your ability to become a better version of yourself. And a lot of the times, man, a lot of people, this brings me to my next point. A lot of people are afraid to leave their hometowns. There was this one quote that Deion Sanders' son said, and he posted it on Twitter, and he said that I never be afraid to leave your hometown, because sometimes staying in your hometown could be detrimental to your growth. And a lot of people were just doing what people on Twitter do. They were bashing the kid, this and this and that. But what they failed to realize, he's like, sometimes, not all the time, but when you really think about it, yeah, a lot of people who are afraid to leave their hometowns, they end up not leaving because they're afraid of failure, or they're comfortable or whatever it is, right? So and other I don't want to call them celebrities or influencers, but Vic Blends always says the same thing too, because Vic Blends is I gotta give that kid his props, man, because he's out here grinding, hustling, doing his thing. And if anybody doesn't know what he does, he's got an Instagram channel or Instagram page where he literally gives free haircuts to random people in Atlanta, Georgia. Like, he'll post up in a park and he'll just talk story with them. And he was saying a lot of the times that because people ask him, like, oh, he's like, they're like, oh, like, why you getting off free haircuts? But you should be making money on this. He's like, nah. He's like, making money is important, but that's not the only thing, man. Making money is it's not the end all be all. He's like, it's all about making an impact. And he said the same thing too. He's like, never be afraid to leave your hometown because growth happens outside your comfort zone. And me being from Hawaii, I kid you not, man. There's a lot of people here who've never been on a plane to the mainland. Of course, they visited outer islands, this and that, but they've never been on a plane to, the continent. They've never been out overseas and never done none of that. And the older I get, the more I realize that, like, damn, that's kind of sad. The fact that your reality is what, there's 6, 7 islands or something. Yeah, that your reality is 7 islands wide, and yeah, and I think that's sad because it's like the world is so much bigger than people make it out to be. The you know, it's bigger than your hometown. It's to use this analogy, it's bigger than the 64 miles of paved road that Hawaii that Oahu has, right? And I think at the end of the day, if doing something doesn't scare you, that means it's not big enough. I'm not saying go out there and don't have a plan or don't have a job or don't have a place to live or anything like that too, but I'm saying it's like it's bigger. The world's bigger than what you currently know. And if you're surrounding yourself with the same people that you went to high school with, same people that you grew up with, the chances are you still thinking the same. And I'm not saying that everybody around you, is not a deep thinker or doesn't have a different perspective, but a lot of people will have a perspective on something that they haven't experienced themselves. So they will take what other people have said and they will try to incorporate that into their daily livelihood. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, and you can't really sit there and you can't you can't play it safe, man. Go out there and make mistakes. Go out there and achieve your goals. You conquer your fears. You know, and I think that's important. I think that's extremely important to where I'd rather live life with oh wells and what ifs. And I think a lot of people, they're so afraid of what could happen, that they don't take the time to realize that, what if everything that you want to happen does happen? And you know what? Even if you fail, so what? Take the lessons that come with that, come with that failure and apply it to everything else. Last note, what I'm gonna leave y'all with is when I moved out to California in 2018, I really didn't have a plan. I was in my late 20s, and I kind of just I wanted to leave, and I was supposed to go to school, get my master's, and all this shit, and I went up to the school that I had applied to. They wanted me to retake courses, and I'm like, okay, cool. Get up to the school, and I'm like, why would I retake courses that I've already passed, at my other university? Doesn't make any sense. And unbeknownst to me was that I was told one thing by the dean of the department, and when I got up there, it was a completely different ballgame. And I said, yo, you guys could have just told me point blank, straight up, what it was, and I wouldn't have wasted my time. And the plan that I had, it wasn't concrete at all. And so basically, it ended up falling apart. And the one thing I realized, because I was staying with family at the time too, was that I can't depend on nobody but myself. I can't depend on anybody but myself, because I think it's depending on other people makes growth not impossible, but you have a tendency to sit there and have a safety net. And That's the one thing it taught me, man. A lot of people will help you out just to benefit them, and at the end of the day, it doesn't work like that. At the end of the day, it just doesn't. It's not something that you should be doing. You should be wanting to help people just based off because you want to help them, not because you can benefit from an extra income or whatever it is. And yeah, at the end of the day, that's what it was, man. 2018 taught me a lot, man. Being home for the last 5 years has basically taught me, how to move, and my mental's different and everything's different, and I look back on 2018, I think like I'm okay. Like I get the fact that that this is what I wanted to do. This is what I wanted to do, and even though it didn't work out, it was never about the money that I was gonna spend. Um, it was more along the lines of getting the time back, and when I say getting the time back, I know that I can't get the time back, but I made the decision to to stay and tough it out, but it just didn't work out. And when I look back on that situation, I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think it's a good thing either. It's just an experience, and that experience taught me a lot. That experience taught me that what you go through is less important than how you go through it. Because I just, I was young. I was younger, and everybody who was older than me was telling me what they would do, this and this and that, yada yada yada. And at the end of the day, to me, it really didn't matter. It didn't matter because they wasn't me. It didn't matter because they didn't have the same goals and ambitions that I had. And believe it or not, I still want to go and get my master's degree in sports psychology. So that's always been a goal of mine. So yeah, and because I think that when you find something that you're good at, keep working at it, and even if it doesn't make any sense to somebody else, just chase your goals, chase your ambitions, because at the end of the day, if you want to go to a place that that has untapped potential and unfulfilled talent, go to the graveyard, because silence is deafening, man. Anyway, y'all. Hope y'all keeping the four P's. This is 18 minutes of your life that you won't get back. Hope y'all keeping it positive, player, pushing, and see y'all next week. Ghost.